Hey, welcome to the Dog 10. I am Cara Achterberg. I am an author and an advocate for sheltered dogs and rescue. And I am not the one that's going to answer your questions in 10 minutes or less. That would be this person.
Me. My name is Crystal Dunn. I'm a dog behavior consultant, and I do the Far-Fetched Dog Podcast, which is a podcast all about dog behavior, dog things in general, the dog world, dog politics. That's a thing, which is weird to say, but it is.
I believe it. We have a question today from Britty Man. And I am going to add on to this question, but first I'm going to read it, and then Crystal's going to be really challenged. So the question is, how to curb demand barking. I honestly don't mind if the dogs bark at the front door when someone knocks, but I cannot stand when the smallest one wants a door opened or a crate open and scratches, barks. Ignoring means she barks 1,000 times. What do I do? That's her question. And she said it like that. Yeah, and I have a story too about it that has to do with my dog Otis, but maybe you should answer that question and then I'll give you my specific situation with Otis when you're ready for it.
Yeah, we talked about kind of barking at the door and stuff like that in a previous episode. So I won't spend too much time on the door specific type stuff. Except to say that there's some really great, training protocols that you can look up out there that are geared towards redirecting this type of behavior and channeling it into more constructive things.
Or watch our previous episode all about the door.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like the demand barking is more specific of a behavior, right? Like obviously dogs figure out that if they bark at you, then it's going to get some sort of result. And I think that's the key to remember when you're treating this behavior is what result is your dog getting when they bark? Other way to put that is it working? Are they getting what they want? And you have to kind of know what they want, right? Do they want attention? Is attention just good enough? Is there a big win here, a small win here? The big win being, if I bark, they give me my dinner. The small win being, if I bark, they look at me, even if it's to tell me to shut up or whatever, like that's still going to qualify as attention. So be careful of your reactions. This is the first part. Don't give your dog what they're looking for. So when you are treating this, you have to kind of decide on what type of reaction you're going to give ahead of time. That can be really helpful. Just have a game plan in mind. What's going to be most appropriate for your dog? And talking to a trainer about this ahead of time is super, super useful because they can give you a lot of guidance in a very short amount of time based on your situation so that you don't do damage. You don't, ruin the kennel for your dog. But if your dog is barking at you and demanding, my first tip is just don't make eye contact. That's where they get you. You can pull your whole body away and turn around, but if you so much as even glance at the dog, you're reinforcing it. So stare at the corner of the room. Also be dramatic. When your dog starts demand barking at you, turn quickly, be a little bit, be a little dramatic about the whole thing so that they see a very clear change in your behavior that indicates that this behavior is not a desired one and it's not going to be effective. You have to kind of become the brick wall. The other thing is, don't talk to them. That also rewards it. So hush, 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 stop it, quit barking, all that stuff. That often will just kind of amp your dog up. It makes them feel like they're having a conversation with you. Remember, they don't speak full English. So whether you're saying hush or, speaking to them, it's kind of going to be the same thing if your dog is looking for attention. And lastly, of course, don't put hands on your dog when they're barking at you, if at all possible. If you push them away, and again, it's interaction that they're looking for in a lot of these cases. The other side of this, of course, is teaching a dog in advance what you expect from them. So you have to be able to teach a dog how to be on the other side of the door. And this can be looked at as a trick, just like any other thing that you teach. If you approach it like you're teaching a trick, you won't get so frustrated during the process and you're not trying to use it on the fly, right? So I teach my dogs to be on the other side of a door from me very, very directly, just like I would teach a sit, just like I would teach a stay. I decide we're going to work on separating ourselves from room to room. So I don't have a permanent tail in my house. And I'll put them in a sit stay on the other side of a door, and I'll practice shutting the door, opening it, and rewarding, shutting the door, opening it, and rewarding. So my dog understands that this is a thing that happens between us. Doors happen between us, and that's okay. If I feel like my dog's going to have a really hard time at it at first, I might not shut the door all the way. So it's a process of desensitizing that type of behavior, setting your dog up to succeed. And then I might even redirect them to their bed and teach them, after I've taught them to go to bed, teach them to just chill on the bed when I'm in the other room. So they have something specific they're supposed to do. Sometimes giving them something to chew on and stuff can really help, especially during the young puppy stages. But overall, it's really just about desensitizing your dog to the idea of being in a separate room from you. And it's really good for them, because if it can't be away from you, it's going to be really hard for you to leave the house. And that leads to things like separation anxiety, isolation anxiety, and all kinds of other fun things that you might have to treat as a result. So by all means, go out of your way to train your dog to be on the other side of a door from you, whether it's the bathroom door, the bedroom door, whatever door it may be, even in the kitchen, teach them to go out of the kitchen. Your dog needs to understand that there are some spaces that they may not be able to stay stuck to you. And that's good for them.
Seems like it's like a lot of things, give them something else to do when they're doing something you don't want them to do. Give them something they can succeed at and do on their own.
Yeah, it really helps to fill in the blanks for a dog. We spend a lot of time just trying to get like these little micro behaviors out of them. But when we're adding duration to our commands and stuff, it really helps to fill in that time with something else. Don't do this, do that instead. And then I'll be right back.
Right. So my specific situation is a little demand barking, but it's different because it's not demanding of me. It's one dog demanding of the other. And I'm just curious. So my dog Otis is only a year, and his big sister Fanny is 3.5-ish. And sometimes she will have a chew toy or something. Actually, it doesn't matter what she has. Whatever she has, he will want. And just like classic, sibling thing, he's bigger than her. He will just stand over her while she's happily chewing, and just bark and bark and bark and bark. I mean, like forever, just this insistent barking at her. And most of the time she just ignores him. But ultimately, it never ends until she will drop it because she'll be like, all right, I'm sick of it. Have it. Like a teenager saying, like, or a sibling saying that. Or my husband or I, one of us needs the dog to be quiet, and one of us will yell at him to shut up, and he doesn't shut up because we yelled at him to shut up. Fanny drops the toy because she's really timid, and it scares her. If she hears us yelling, she'll be like, what is it? What is it? And she'll come right to me. She'll drop the toy. He gets the toy. So no matter what, he wins. And
yeah, that's the catch with
struggling with this.
Auditory correctors, right? Like you have to remember, anytime you're correcting out loud, you're correcting everyone in the room. When it comes to dogs, especially, they all just assume you're talking to them. So those verbal correctors can be extremely hindering in training scenarios like that, especially when you're dealing with multiple dogs. The thing with that behavior would be this is really a case for interruption, where you're interrupting your dog's interactions and redirecting the barking dog. And you're probably going to be looking at doing that with a lot of repetition at first, because again, your dog has learned that it works to bark at the other dog, and they're not used to you necessarily being part of the equation here. So you might have to interrupt and redirect the barking dog numerous times. And I would start out, small, interrupt, redirect to a toy, interrupt, redirect to a toy, a different toy, or in a different space even. And as I'm teaching the desired behavior and rewarding that, I'm adding more duration to it and rewarding my dog for more duration, so that they learn, like, okay, there's some sense of permanence to this. I'm not supposed to be barking at the other dog. And it's not just a 5-second break that I'm supposed to be taking here. But then after you progress through that for so long, if the behavior persists, or you feel like, sometimes they get crafty and they figure out all the loopholes, and they go back to it when they feel like you're not paying attention anymore or anything like that, it can help to add some consequences in there. And you are dealing with older dogs who are more established in your house too. So I would say, after a fair, week or so of repetition, start redirecting the first time. And then if the dog doesn't stay redirected to their toy and goes back to the barking behavior, I would put them in a kennel, or put them in a pen space or something like that, right. Or even just send them outside. And it doesn't have to be delivered like a punishment either. You don't have to be like, get outside. It can be something as simple as like, out you go, or to your kennel. Yeah. And that way your dog understands that behavior is resulting just in something that they're not aiming for. And that's often enough to just curb the behavior entirely. Like, okay, that no longer works, so I'm going to stop doing it. The trick at first is the consistency. You got to keep at it. It can be kind of annoying. So I always try to set that expectation for people, like be ready to do a lot of repetition at first.
Yeah, especially when it's ingrained like it is, but having him go to the kennel is easy. He's good at that. He'll do it. He doesn't have an issue with it. So we'll have to start incorporating something. So see, that's why I do this, so that I can get my personal training questions answered. And if any of you have a question that's burning and you really need to know the answer to, or even if you're just curious, please email me or email Crystal, or put a note down here in our show links and tell us what your question is, and we will get to it eventually. And the beauty of this is we answer it really quickly, so you don't have to spend your whole day watching a YouTube video. So if you want to reach me, you can find me at carawrites.com. Cara's with a C. And Crystal, where do they find you?
You can find me at farfetchedpodcast.com, or email me at farfetchedpod@gmail.com. Find me on all the socials at farfetchedpod.
Great. Thanks.
All right. See you next time.